Can good exist without evil, or are both necessary for balance?
If either exist except in our minds.
Why would you say that?
Well, these are human-made concepts.
To be very honest, I feel like we can't even arrive at what is good and bad.
The trouble with good and evil is this. If you label an action or a behavior as evil, you usually stop being curious about why that thing happened.
These are very societal definitions to control, which we don't know if it's good or bad, because I would end up bringing a political element of saying, this is just about human control.
When we talk about good and evil, what does the brain say?
The brain looks after you as well and has this thing that you exist. So that's why therefore you have to do certain things. I mean, it is about us, it's about others as well.
It doesn't happen at a very cautious level, and it doesn't happen through one element as well.
Is it wired to actually do good, or wired to do both good and evil?
Oh, I think it comes wired to make connections. I think it's just wired to learn what works.
Can an evil act ever come out from a good intention?
Yes, of course.
All the time?
I think in fact, all the time.
How did the girl actually find herself in that situation that led to a breakup? Or even how did the guy find themselves in that situation?
That would be philosophy, because maybe it was her karma, she attracted this man. I don't know.
Exactly. So you say...
always the girl is a bad girl.
Kindness, cruelty, love, violence. But which one comes first? We bring 3 expertise psychologists into one room. No scripts, no comfort zones, just science. Is goodness or nature, or is evil beneath the surface?
If humans were left without laws, would most people choose to do good or evil?
Imagine there are no traffic lights on the road. What will happen? So my answer is there would be a lot of evil if there were no consequences, and it would be a lot of chaos.
I find law, order, religion give us a sense of meaning. They are essential to keep everything moving, as if, everything needs to have order and structure.
I think you can't have a group of people survive for long so that they can procreate and get on with life without some regulation of their instincts. But these are the instincts that human beings are born with, and when they form a society, it needs to be regulated.
From the moment we are born, are we driven by goodness or by something darker? Some say humans are born pure wired for kindness, empathy and love. Others argue that beneath our smiles lies selfishness, greed, and the instinct to harm. Every act of charity reminds us of our capacity for good. Yet every war, betrayal, and injustice whispers that maybe evil is part of who we are. So today, we are putting human nature on trial. In this episode, we are asking the question that's old as humanity. Are humans naturally good or evil? We're going to be having an amazing guest to talk about this subject today. Welcome to the show, Dr. Azi. Welcome to the show, Meg. And of course, welcome to the show, Bushra Khan. How you guys doing?
Very well. Extremely well.
So I would like to begin with introductions, please. And like they say, ladies first. So I'll start with Bushra Khan. So what's your professional background and experiences, that feed your perspective on this subject?
So it's a very interesting subject that you are talking about. So I would say my own journey started from being in fashion for 15 years and going into psychology, because I think too much bad happened.
Okay.
So the journey started and I started studying, and so I'm a psychologist. I do holistic work, and I'm a student of neuroscience and psychology of mental health. So I've been doing this for the last 15 years. I've been on this journey, and I'm originally from Pakistan, lived 35 years in London, and now in Dubai.
Amazing. So we're looking at, your experience in terms of psychology, and of course all you have to say about this subject, and of course to Meg, tell us about you, please.
So I'm in occupational psychology for the last 10 years.
Amazing, actually.
And I also do have a private practice, so I do career development, but more specialized on women, and I practice internally within the organizations within L&D.
Amazing. And of course, some questions for you, Dr. Azi.
Sure. So I'm Azi. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I specialize in working with young people and adults, particularly adults, basically survivors of, difficulties, particularly trauma difficulties. So yeah, and in terms of my interests, obviously it's a really interesting question. So I think philosophy and theology really helps. Making some way in answering this question.
Amazing, because we're talking a lot about philosophy today, because this sounds very philosophical actually. Okay. So, Bushra, when you hear the expression "are humans naturally good or evil," what comes to mind?
I think we are naturally born to do good, but then there's so many things in us like ego that drives us to be competitive and jealous and envious, and we do a lot of things because of that. I feel it's the ego that brings that dark side in us. We have light in us and we have darkness in us. We have both. So I feel the God is in us and the devil is in us. So it's how we show up, what happens in life. So it's philosophy, I would say, when things are good.
Okay.
Say that, oh, everybody has to be kind, everybody has to be nice. But when it comes to survival, then you really see the darkness in you.
Amazing. And how about you, Meg? What do you think?
When it comes to this topic, honestly, I really feel good and evil is very contextual. What could be good in one setting, what could be evil in another setting is very contextual. So we can't just say this is good or bad. It's a gray area for me, in how I see it, because it's very contextual. And who defines good and bad?
I actually had that written down. Yeah. That question: who defines what is good and what is actually evil? Who defines that? Yeah.
Well, I was actually thinking about that this morning on the way to work, and I initially answered the question like you did, thinking that who's to say what is good and evil? And in fact, they are judgment terms. Exactly. We use them to judge action. Okay. In accordance with certain morality.
Exactly.
And then I then tried to think of the most horrible things that we know people have done. Can we say these are evil, and would other people view them as good? And I think for most global affairs, that is true. It's contextual. Like if you think of the world wars, for example, some people will say, these guys were on the side of evil, these guys were on the side of good. But there are some actions, individual actions. Like I started thinking of serial killers, for example. Exactly. You start think of rape. You start think of, acts of like really horrendous things. Yes. Like, in the UK, you hear quite often, like a parent who's, beat their child to death, basically, or parents who neglected their child's health to an extent that they died in a miserable way.
Yeah.
Is that evil? And then I challenged myself even more. And then I thought, well, is it really evil? Because did that person have free choice, so to speak? So I'm thinking, can you say something is evil, even if it looks evil by all standards, if the person does not have free will? And who's the one to then determine whether or not that person had the will, of the freedom of will to do that, So it takes you down into a whole different argument.
Free will, you mean the awareness that what they're doing is bad? Because, a parent beating the child up, what is got to do with free will? Maybe they don't have the awareness. What they're doing is wrong because they were beaten up and they had a traumatic childhood and they think it's okay. They've normalized pain.
Yeah. Maybe they think they're doing it for in the child's best interest.
It sounds like we're speaking about
raise
intention.
My child. Yeah. Correct. So it's it's free will and intention.
I feel intention is a very big one when it comes to this.
So you can actually inflict pain on someone and say it's good?
Well,
the intention.
That's your awareness, I feel.
And it's quite interesting because the concept that even comes to mind when we bring on the context of criminology and all that does happen in that setting. My personal experience in terms of this is how interesting most criminals don't even know or think they are criminals. Like it's not an awareness, that they know. They say it more, I had to survive, They say it more, I had to do X, Y, Z. They say it more, there was no other way, we tried the correct way. Like they're not even aware.
That we were doing
Exactly.
especially within war crimes.
Literally. And for some, it's even they say it as self-defense. And I'm thinking, I'm even bringing a context whereby from a Black community, it will be a lot of self-defense as well. They'll be like, oh, I had to stand up for myself. I had to do. So it's very contextual once again.
Talking about who defines what is good
Yeah.
and what is evil, and I was actually thinking, is this expression, is it subjective, or is it something that is determined by culture and time?
My opinion is we need to accept about deviance, because I find that we treat the society in a way that we expect to go in one way. But if we understand there's always going to be a concept of deviance within the society context, we are going to get there, but not all of us are going to get there the same way. So when we bring in this question of asking good and evil, especially when we know the society, like we're not the first people to experience it, deviance will always be part of society. Like it's just a matter of now seeing the human beings within the act versus actually boxing them into something. But I feel deviance needs to be something we're coming from and being aware in a way that we understand, okay, it is what it is, but introduces the free will, I think, Dr. Zam mentioned, because once you know there's deviance, then you choose whether you want to engage or not, whether it's for you or not. But that will always be there, and I don't feel like we'll change it anytime soon.
Amazing. It seems you have something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, there is also black and white as well. I know it's a gray area, but there's also black and white, like domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
A man is beating his wife up, and we see that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We see it a lot, not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? Because she deserves it, and he thinks he's disciplining her. I mean, how was she?
I feel like that is something that, one, it's an individual, and maybe I'll throw it back to the clinical psychologist here, because I feel like it's more of an individual. In my situation, I will tend to look, domestic violence is not anything that I can actually support, but what was happening there?
So, if I get it correctly, some persons might have a very huge justification for that.
Yeah.
So, no matter justification you have for beating someone or abusing someone domestically, is that really justifiable?
Exactly.
That's like
She
the thought
answered
process
me,
here.
She answered me back. She's very rude.
But
Is it justifiable?
But you see, maybe if that is what is landing for this person, they may be feeling they're being intimidated, or they may be feeling they have to.
Child abuse.
Child abuse is a no-go zone. Like we can't even speak about adults, where the free will comes in, but when it comes to children, it's a no-go zone. Like it's a.
Everybody you can argue, but what about kids? 4 years
Yeah,
old,
it's
5
a no-go zone.
Dr. Azi, I'll come to you. Can good exist without evil, or are both necessary for balance?
Well, I'm actually not sure if either exist, except in our minds.
Why would you say that?
Well, these are human-made concepts.
Yeah.
I don't think, as far as we know, the primary motive for all living organisms is to continue itself and to, keep going for as long as possible. But we have something that most other animals don't have, a very complex degree of self-awareness, and that has huge implications for, our lives. And also we have language. And so we develop stories, and we use these stories to, explain the world around us. So, an act is described as good. We immediately, what do you want to do when something is described as good? How do you feel towards that thing? If I told you this is a really good mic, what would you want to do?
I feel excited, of course.
Yeah. If I told you this is the best mic, this is a really good mic, wouldn't you want to have it?
Of course.
And keep it? And if I told you this is a bad mic, what would you want to do with it?
I want to discard it.
Yeah, to discard it and get rid of it. And the same thing can be applied to these terms, good and evil. The trouble with good and evil is this: if you label an action or a behavior as evil, then you usually stop being curious about why that thing happened, and lots of us mistake, the need to understand for justification. when you try to understand why somebody abuses another person or why somebody beats his wife or husband up, it doesn't mean you're justifying it. It just means you try to understand it and understand the context, the causes, the contributors to it, in order to, reduce the risk of it reoccurring in the future. But honestly, I don't think good and evil exist outside of our minds. Like, look at the human. I mean, I sometimes just watch videos of safaris and stuff like that, and what the way you see animals live and feed, geez, it looks horrible. Like, have you seen how hyenas eat these buffaloes? Yeah. How they break their legs and then they eat them from the softest part. They start eating them alive. Yeah. Is that not evil? No, it's nature.
Dr. Azi, this is okay. Bushra.
That's why we've been given brain.
Okay,
Because higher consciousness.
The brain judges.
Yes.
What do you think, Bushra? Tell us.
So, the brain judges, and we are more evolved. That's why we are not animals. So we can decide that, this is actually bad. This is not the right thing to do. Our consciousness is much more evolved and higher consciousness. So we can't say what hyena is doing is okay and that's nature. That's so we are doing that. Listen, I was in Kenya and I saw this impala, male impala, with about 7, 8 women, female impalas. And I said, why is it this one impala and 7, 8? They said, this is his harem. I said, what? And I said, so there are other impalas there. They're roaming around alone. They're lonely. Why don't they just take few of these? He says, no, he can't. He has to fight him. So we'll say, oh, okay, so men having 7, 8 mistresses is okay. It makes sense. So they said, so it doesn't, right? We think, we understand that people will get hurt and all that. So we have higher consciousness.
Yeah, but I don't mean to say it's okay for this to happen. I'm just meant to say this is nature.
Absolutely.
It happens. And what you feel about it is how you term it good and evil. That's something else. But I'm just saying it exists.
Absolutely.
So my question is, how can one actually describe what is good and what is evil? How can you describe it?
Pain, I think.
No, really, actually. To be very honest, I feel like we can't even arrive at a definition of what is good and bad, because I'll just put it in the context of pain. You do a lot of painful things to yourself.
Such as?
Everyone does a lot of painful things.
Okay.
All the maintenance and everything. I work out a lot. I take my body through a lot of trauma.
So what about being, so maybe being unfair to somebody, treating them badly?
What I'm noticing with what the suggestion of unfair, pain, and these are very societal definitions to control, which we don't know if it's good or bad, because I would end up bringing a political element of saying, this is just about human control or something of the sort.
The moment in the world.
Exactly. But is it good or evil? We can't necessarily describe that. And because the same person who does good is the same person who does so-called evil.
Azi, Dr. Azi, can an evil act ever come out from a good intention?
Yes, of course.
All the time?
I think, in fact, all the time.
Yeah.
I think all the time. If not, maybe the vast majority of times.
Yes.
How?
To use your example, the domestic violence case. I imagine it often happens because one party feels dominated by another, and they want to restore fairness and justice. Or they want to restore stability to the household, or they want to get the person to do what they believe is the right thing to do, and they have no other means to get them to do this with.
Control, yeah.
And even maybe...
I feel because I work with a lot of breakups, so when I would speak to a guy that, why did you do it this way? Because he ghosted the girl. And the answer would be, I was being kind to her. I didn't want to tell her. I don't want her to get hurt. But imagine ghosting for the girl is like it's so painful.
But if
Because
we
you're not getting a closure, you don't understand what you did wrong. But the guy is saying, I'm doing the right thing. And she's crying, it's so evil, Dahon, the way he dumped me.
But if we go back a little bit,
Mm.
how did the girl find herself in that situation? If we just go back, we're looking at the breakup as the act.
The girlfriend what?
How did the girl actually find herself in that situation that led to a breakup? Or even how did the guy find themselves in that situation? If we go
That would be philosophy, because maybe it was her karma. She attracted this man. I don't know.
exactly. So you
But
see,
always the girl is a bad girl. That
but
she
we
attracted
can't
the bad experience.
we can't define it from a behavior role if we really do not see what happened before.
Okay, let's see. I've seen what happened.
No, what I mean
Let's see, in
here.
this situation, I saw what happened. I was working with both of them.
No, what I mean here is the behavior is the breakup here. What we're looking at here is the breakup.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is for us to even know if it's good or bad or if the ghosting was,
No,
part of
that's what I'm
it.
saying.
We
But-
have
But
to really
but generally,
We have to
ghosting
go-
someone that's
Very
that's absurd, right? That's
Very mean.
Really?
that's inappropriate, right? You could literally tell someone, okay, I want to break up.
what if I'm
Dr. Azi, is it fair to ghost someone?
I don't know. I think it depends, really. I mean,
No, just say it.
But for
Say the way it
for my
is.
own mental health, I will
genuinely
ghost
think
you.
it depends.
No, I
yeah.
want to tell you. I want to tell you, I'm sorry, this is not working. I'll give it closure.
Because I would say something, right? Because the question was, can evil acts come from a good intention? Yes, some persons might feel like if I say this to you, I have actually care about you. If I say this to you, if I do this to you, and you're aware of it, it will break you. But aren't you actually hurting that person by doing that? Why not just not do it? Why not say it? Or why not say it?
But Ken, we're bringing in personalities here because what I'm noticing, what if I'm introverted? What if,
Or if I'm a coward.
but we're being serious. This is our everyday life.
Okay.
This keeps us in an expectation that we need to behave the same way, which is not possible because.
Okay, I'll give you something really bigger example. Okay?
No, please don't.
I'll tell you. There was a study done in these big 5 companies, and if I'm not mistaken, it was by Harvard. They wanted to understand the jealousy and competitiveness. So what they did was they said, let's say we work for the same company, and you are my senior, and you are making 100K a month, and I'm making 50K, and so the boss would come and said, listen, the good news, we are promoting you. We're going to give you 150. But we can only give you that because your junior, Bushra, will also earn the same money as 150. So her jump is 100,000. Your jump is only 50. But we can't give you that promotion till you sign her off. Like, yes, you agree with her promotion. So he says, but that's unfair. Why is she getting the same money? So they said, well, that's what the board has decided. You need to now decide, do you want 50 more? You can only get 50 more because as long as she gets 100 more. So the guy said, no, I won't take it. Now tell me, what is that? Why does he care? He's getting 50. Who cares what I'm getting? But he cares. So what is that? Jealousy? That's unfair. And who decides it's unfair? You're getting your money. Let her get it as well. No, I'm not going to get it, and I won't let her get it as well.
So how do you explain it?
That we have this innate jealousy, competitiveness. We have this thing in us that even if we say I'm the best person, I'm the most kind person, but we see somebody in my own class. And there is another one that if you're getting demoted, if you're getting fired, you'll be very sad. But if we all are getting fired, you'll be okay about it. So we have this thing about that. If in my community, everybody if somebody's doing better than me, I'll have a problem with it, more personally. But they say that's human nature.
So are we wired to behave that way or think that way?
I think so. There's a whole study on it. I can share it.
Talking about studies, thinkers like Hobbes and said that humans are naturally selfish and need control, right? While Rousseau said humans are pure, until corrupted by society. So my question, because she said something very, intriguing for me that humans are actually wired to be kind of jealous at some point. So the question, Dr. Azi, is every human being, do you think we're actually wired or born to be selfish, or is this something we learn, or is it something we're influenced by the society to do?
Yeah, I think if, you have to ask yourself, so at what stage are we closest to nature? Because as soon as we're born into culture. And that's when you start to be influenced by the values and morality of the time and place you get born into. Yeah. And so when you're an infant, you're obviously much closer to nature than when you are, 5, 6, 10, and so on and so forth, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And I think anybody who's had any experience of very young children, they will see that these young children have the capacity for aggression. Mm-hmm. They have the capacity for possession, as in wanting something and wanting to keep it, and then getting angry when it's taken away from them, like protesting. And they also have the capacity for jealousy. Like, for example, when another sibling is born into the relationship, depending how it gets handled and stuff, they have the capacity for that as well. Yeah. So you have to, I think you'd have a difficult time to argue children or human beings are born pure or only with good, things. Yeah. I actually think all these feelings I just mentioned, jealousy, aggression, anger, all of that stuff is adaptive in the right context and if used flexibly. So the human being comes prepared for survival. And in order to survive and function in a society, you need to have those things. But then you have a society that then shapes certain things more or less. Yeah. So some societies may make you more cooperative. Mm-hmm. Some societies make you more competitive. Yeah. And usually, like the US culture, for example, is in the research highlighted to be as one that really nurtures the competitive qualities in the individual. Mm-hmm. The individual's more, individualistic and so on, whereas you have traditionally Eastern, societies that are more about the collective harmony and cooperation. So I think human beings are born with the aptitude.
I used to actually have a very stiff conversation with one of my friends, actually my best friend, and I just felt like humans are selfish people, and I stand to be corrected anyway. So when I thought of this subject, I was like, okay, I'm going to ask professionals, psychologists that experience in this subject with, relating with several clients. Yeah. Are humans actually selfish people? Because at the end of the day, on a scale of 10, 1 to 10, what would you say, Meg?
First of all, I will say on a scale of 1 to 10, I will say, again, I won't take a stand 5. And I'll tell you this, selfish for me is something people have used to describe me a lot. And I'm very okay, I'll tell you I'm very selfish. But why I am selfish is very clear. I have boundaries. I do a lot of things in a tact sort of way. And other people might get uncomfortable and feel like the communal element is not there. But my intention of being selfish is very clear. So if we use this context of 1 to 10, I will say it depends. If I have an ambition, and I'll tell you my default thinking, the reason I have the boundaries that I have is because I need to honor my purpose. And I don't have so much time to do everything in a way that will allow me to do so. So I need to be selfish to serve the higher good. So in this case, it's very contextual to even say, am I really selfish because I'm doing this in service of a higher good?
Bushra, what do you think? Your thoughts?
I think it's a survival instinct that I have to keep safe. I feel brain has a negative bias. It sees everything to see that what can I control so that I can live, I can survive. So I feel it's all about survival, that if I look after myself, and brain's job is to keep you safe on the planet. So I feel it's coming from that place that we want to look after ourselves first and then others.
Then why is it seen or perceived generally that if someone tend to be selfish, it's seen like evil or it's seen like a bad thing? Usually when you say that guy is selfish or the girl is selfish, it is seen like it's a bad thing.
I think it's a culture thing.
Yeah.
Because we are taught, be nice to others, offer them this, be kind to them. We have never taught be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, look after yourself first, or give them the bread first, which is fine. I'm not against it. But it's always about others. It's all about validation, seeking validation from others, people pleasing and all this. So I feel you're lost, especially in my culture, you're lost somewhere. It's not about you. It's how you show up. And love is also very much conditional. If you do good in your exams, you will do better. So everything is about others. So now we are learning, no, you have to look after yourself. You have to love yourself. These are all new words. Love myself, that means I'm being selfish. No, it's self-care.
Okay. So is it okay to actually be selfish? Is it okay?
I just think it's, again, another judgmental term.
Yeah.
As soon as you use it, I want to say no, because,
So what do we use then?
well, it's look after yourself.
Yeah,
well as other people.
Yeah, exactly.
I think my understanding of the word selfish is that I look after my interest to the exclusion of those around me. Yeah. Now that is, I think, not useful if you're going to live in a society.
Yeah.
And given that you're a social creature, you're going to have to live in a society.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's not a good thing to be selfish in the long term. Yeah.
Citing what you said about being selfish, some persons, they care after themselves up to the extent that it might harm someone else.
Yeah.
Probably that's the reason why the society frowns at the expression being selfish, right? So if we're talking about self-care, Dr. Bushra did say self-care is not selfish. Meg is saying, okay, she's selfish.
I am.
All right.
Very
And you're saying it's, different from from the way you see it. So my question is, because everybody thinks about their own survival, at what point do we, come to that point where we say, okay, yes, you should look after yourself, but the next person, don't do something harmful to that person when you're trying to look after yourself. Because at the end of the day, yes, I'm a twin. Yeah. Okay, I have a twin brother, Kelvin. Yeah. I love him so much, right? But would I put me first before him? Or should I put him before me? What do I do?
But there's something I'd love to bring to explain this. And this is always a concept, I forgot it, but it's just a concept within psychology that always stands for the fact that everybody has the ability within themselves to actually take care of themselves, to actually evolve. And I feel like maybe we as psychologists, I see people a lot, not based on who they are, but on that ability to evolve. But this need of selfish or not selfish, it actually disempowers a lot of people and even makes them doubt their own capacity and not able to build their self-efficiency to actually grow and evolve, to be able to do what they need to do. So I find that, as you said, if I put him before it can actually affect the self-efficiency, which is what will create maybe later jealousy and things like that, because there's something about their self-efficiency that now brings in an element that they feel inferior and they haven't been able to build muscle. But everyone has the capacity to actually grow, evolve, and handle their own.
So you're saying Ken should you're saying Ken should actually look after himself, right?
To show up with that capacity.
I see.
And I feel if we created that, if I trusted you, that I didn't need to have to come and check on all that. I'm giving you room to evolve, express yourself, be who you are, even if it's different, seeing it for what it is. But the fact we want to see it from one lens creates a if I do this, I'm going off. If I do this, I'm going bad. But we're losing the talent. We're losing the special gifts. We're losing the things that actually make us unique, that actually help us evolve.
I see. Amazing thought, actually. I'm learning a lot today. As we look further on the show, looking about, our thoughts, our experiences, and the fact that we should actually put ourselves first, which I think is actually very important. And this question is for you, Bushra. If humans were left without laws, religion, or consequences, would most people choose to do good or evil?
So once again,
I said if humans were left without laws, religion, consequences, would they be actually left to choose to do good or evil? Because when we started this conversation, Bushra, when we started this conversation, the three guests, we all did agree that as good and evil is actually subjective. Some person said humans are actually born to be good. Some person said, it's a reflection of society or what have you. So my question now is, if there are no laws, there are no consequences for actions when you do something bad, there's no religion, would I actually do something good? Would I choose to do something good, or would I choose to do harm?
That answer is in the history. Why did all these prophets came? Because there was so much evil in the world. So one person came and said, by the way, you're doing everything wrong. You're abusing these women and they're getting pregnant, and you're going and killing, and there are consequences. So there was a lot of evil in the world. That's why religion came, right? So my answer is there would be a lot of evil if there were no consequences, and it would be a lot of chaos. Imagine there are no traffic lights on the road. What will happen? There will be traffic jam everywhere. Everybody goes shouting each other. Who goes first?
So if we actually need laws,
We need laws.
and if we need religion, and we need consequences for our actions, what does that make us as humans?
I feel one of the things we need to do and understand is all these things are meant to be starting point, but you still have an individual that you can build upon. I find law, order, religion give us a sense of meaning. They're essential to keep everything moving, as if, everything needs to have order and structure. But what I think it should be the end of thinking, it should be the end of curiosity, it should be the end of labels. We can be a little bit more above the labels, but I feel it's essential to have an environment that is collectively providing a well-being for us to actually grow.
Dr. Azi.
Yeah, I think you can't have a group of people, survive for long enough so that they can procreate and get on with life without some regulation of their instincts. And human beings, I think, have primarily two instincts. You can call it, the death and life instinct. You can call it love and hate. You can call it the capacity to create and the capacity to destroy, and then everything else comes from these. But these are the instincts that human beings are born with, and when they form a society, it needs to be regulated. Now, by what criteria it's regulated, that's down to that individual society and its members to decide, whether it's with reference to a divine, hence religion, or with reference to something else like science or whatever other model they use. Yeah, so I think you need it in order to regulate the behaviors and put limits to humans.
But some philosophers actually think that humans are born pure-hearted until being corrupted by the society. So for someone that thinks that way, why do we need laws then? If you think people are born with a very pure heart, why do you need laws? Why do you need consequences for their actions?
Yeah, I don't think you're born with a pure heart. I just think you're born with a heart that beats and does the physical functions.
So if you see an infant of 5 months, you think that infant is capable of harm?
It depends. If that infant, if I'm a mother, yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Seen it.
Yes.
I think babies also have aggression.
I see.
For sure. They have lots of aggression and they have lots of also
full-time
capacity
job
for, joy and love as well.
Yeah.
As we move on the show, which I'm finding some very important revelations today, we cannot have this conversation without talking about morality, right? So how much of our morality comes from empathy versus fear of punishment or desire for reward?
I think empathy also, you can't have empathy means that to feel somebody else's pain, right?
Yeah.
When you're a narcissist, maybe you can't feel anybody's pain, but when you've been through pain, it's easy to understand somebody else's pain. And then you have more, kinder, you're nicer, you want to help them. I mean, that's how I came into this line, because of my own journey, not because I wanted to study psychology. I wanted to heal myself, understand why so much pain. And then, and I had a lot of empathy. So I wanted to go and help others for what I've been through. So there is kindness in the world.
Dr. Azi?
Sorry, what was the question again?
I was actually saying that how much of our morality, because when we look at what is good and what is evil, we cannot have that conversation without talking about morality, right? So how much of morality comes from empathy versus fear of punishment, and desire for reward?
Yeah, that's also a good question. I was actually reading about this earlier today, and apparently there's some research by developmental psychologists that show that children under the age of 1, in experimental conditions, they seem to have some preference for, moral action. And this was the experiment they did. They basically had kids under the age of 1 watch figures. They watched a red circle struggling up a hill. And then as the red circle is struggling up the hill, there's a blue square that pushes it down. And then there's a yellow triangle that comes to help the red circle continue its path. And then they presented these to the child to see which they prefer to interact with and have. And most children, they went for the yellow triangle, the hero, so to speak, the helper. And this shows, and actually they did it even with children, I think as young as 7, and they replicated it in other experiments, similar things, shows that children very young, under the age of 1, seem to have some preference for people's actions and moral actions rather than their physical attributes, right? Like the color of their skin or how they look or how they talk or how big they are. Even kids at that age, they seem to come in hardwired, if you want to, with a preference for things like altruism, And then, depending on the family you grow up in and the context, that can be nurtured or extinguished, and antisocial attitudes could actually grow because that's the way that you survive the context.
I think we all have this female and male energy, yin and yang, light and darkness. We have that, and as you explained, that it's your nurture and your life experiences, which way you will be pushed towards.
While we look further on the show on this subject, I want to lean towards the evil expression, and is evil actually a conscious choice or a reflection of pain, ignorance, or lack of love?
I would pick lack of love.
Why?
Because you become so cold. You don't have those feelings to understand other people's pain. You don't even know how to receive love or give love because you've never received it. There was no love. So you don't understand, you don't get it.
So if I choose to do evil, it's because I don't love those people. I don't love that person.
No, because what I'm saying is that you never received love in your life. So you don't know how to give that love. You don't know how to feel that pain. You don't know. I think love plays a very big part. If in your childhood you were given a lot of love and care.
So you think evil is not a conscious choice?
I don't think it's a conscious choice.
I think it's trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm putting it to, I think it's trauma, honestly. Yeah. In my own observation or even my knowledge of.
So people do things because they're traumatized?
It's trauma. It's a response of trauma or something of this. But we have the trauma expert here, so.
Tell us, Dr. Azi.
No. I think all of those things are common answers to explain acts of evil.
Yeah.
But I think again we go back to the premise of the question, which is the use of the word evil. It's a judgmental word, and I'm not saying it's a good or bad word to use, but I'm just saying it's with reference to some morality.
So, Dr. Azi, if I inflict pain or suffering on someone, did I do that because I did it out of a conscious decision, or I did it because I was ignorant, or because I lacked love? That's the question.
So the state does that and has done that throughout history. Like that's, for example, capital punishment, right? Like countries, they through their laws, they consciously put people to death. Consciously, not just pain, but put them to death.
Yeah.
Because they say that this person deserves it, having committed an evil act. So is that also evil?
Punishing someone for doing something evil, is that evil?
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm wondering.
My thing, I think, let's separate two things here: labels and experiences. And if we all trained our eyes to separate the label and the experiences, we will come somewhere close to an answer, but nowhere close at the same time. Because the label here is someone has done something X, so this is what. But the experience around it could be very different. Which I find we need to see the experiences versus just seeing things at the label. Whatever label we put at it, good, evil, someone has done something wrong, so this is how we need to do it. And I also feel this is why we have petitions. What are they called? The judicial system, whereby you appeal or whatever, because it actually gets to bring in another context that gets to affect what the experience was and how it ended up in that place.
Yeah.
Seems you have a lot to say about that, Bushra.
From her face.
Yeah, from the expression, I could tell.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's say a person was abused in the childhood and raped and all that, and now he's doing it to other kids because he was as a child being raped.
Yeah.
So that's why he's doing it. So you get it. So now you should let him loose because it's not his fault. He was really abused badly. Or now you have to say, you know what, he cannot come out of this because it's all he keeps doing. So should we punish him? Should we?
Or we should help him. We should put him in a place where he and the public are safeguarded. And
Exactly.
we should, and this is what we do, for example, in forensic rehabilitation units, where exactly those cases are.
Yeah.
And you support them to help them develop empathy and so on.
What about the people who were released and then they went and did exactly the same
Correct.
thing?
Yeah.
So there were these.
Yeah, actually, recidivism rates are high amongst certain populations, and when they reoffend, they come back for more treatment, basically.
But it's quite interesting, actually. We follow this concept and chain of thought and look at the reoccurrence. They're coming back to society. We, the ones defining good or bad, providing the environment and context to actually recreate the behavior. Because they were good when they were on themselves without us as a society. But you see where we're coming from. So we need to accept as a society. That's why at the beginning I said, I felt, I don't remember which class this was in school, but I'll never forget it because it gave me a sense of acceptance that has really helped me along the way as a psychologist, is to know deviance is always going to be part of the society. If we start from that, we can do something. But if we start from a place that we don't accept that this is always going to be part of society, there is nothing we can do whether to support the victims or even to support the systems enabling it.
So we should actually be ready or aware or accept that people are actually going to do something bad.
And they will.
Because it's in our nature or what?
The thing is,
Experience.
It is a natural part of society. And I remember even the example that came to mind at that point. We're all going to get there, but we're never going to get there the same way. And just because you get there through that way, I get there through this way, or I get there through this way, it doesn't define which path was good or bad. And by the way, when we get there, no one is even asking how we got there.
I want to say something about good or bad here. As we look at culture, we look at geography, and of course we look at our family upbringing. We are raised in families where our parents will tell us this is good, this is bad, and we as kids, we don't actually know if that was good or bad actually, but because our parents told us this is a good thing, this is a bad thing, and that's because family is the primary agent of socialization, right? So we are actually a product of the family we come from. So on that basis, how do we figure that out in terms of what parents should be doing in shaping the mindset of their kids from that child, because we cannot talk about good and bad without looking at the family structure. All right. So what is the father or the mother of that kid saying to that kid in terms of this is a good thing and this is a bad thing? This is what you shouldn't do to people and this is what you should do to people. I think if we start from that particular angle, we would understand that, okay, yes, as humans, we might be wired to always place ourselves first. But what are we doing for the younger generation, for the kids in school, for people growing up to understand that you don't do this kind of things to people, even when you love yourself, right? What do you think?
Yeah.
I think emotional intelligence needs to come in, because what I'm thinking here is, as I mentioned again, if we do raise our kids' emotional intelligence to be able to read the situations, to be able to understand when some certain things are applicable and not applicable, we will be empowering them a little bit way better than just a clear definition, even if it's within a family structure.
Bushra?
I don't know. I would take a very spiritual stance on it. That my daughter was in school in London and she was being bullied. And I spoke to the principal and I said, "You can't do that. I mean, you have to speak to the parents and all that." She says, "How many times are you going to stop this? She needs to learn to stand up for herself." I said, "Why can't you teach the other child to be kinder?" So she says, "Okay, this time she'll get away with it. Then she'll meet somebody in the office or some environment." So I feel that the missing link is love. I just feel that we install love in our schools and everywhere and teach to be kinder and loving and compassionate. And so I'm saying my stance would be very spiritual.
Talking about being spiritual, that has to do with religion, and our belief system. What do you think, religion has to do with determining what is good and evil when we look at how we behave in society? Because as a matter of fact, if you look at the world's population, you're either Christian, you're Muslim, or you just believe something. Everybody believes something, right? Yeah. And your beliefs will tell you don't do this. You don't do this because this is wrong, because God told you not to do this, right? So we cannot have this conversation without talking about religion, in as much as we might want to not look at it deeply, but we have to talk about it, because I'm a Christian, right? And a Christian is going to do something because he was told not to do that thing from the Bible, or the pastor told him not to, right? And the Muslim is going to do that because he was told in the Quran. Of course, his cleric, the Imam, told him, "You don't do that because it's bad," right? So what place does religion come in this conversation, please, Dr. Azi?
I think it defines what is good and evil.
Does it actually do?
I think not maybe as in like, this is good and that's it, and this is evil and that's it. But it's a little bit more complex than that. But it provides, a good resource for the interested person to try and figure out what is good and what is evil, and what does the behaviors consistent with good and behaviors consistent with evil look like if lived. But I think what it also does is that it gives that definition an authority. Like it says, it's not a person who says it, it's actually the divine. So you have to, obey it, right? And then, of course, people who speak in the name of that particular religion then interpret it and give it more nuance and so on. Always with authority to that particular scripture, which then has a, link to the divine. So it's more difficult to question. Like it's easier to question man-made laws than to question laws based on scripture.
I would actually have this open question here. It's up for debate. Religion, as it were, because some persons will tell you, because of what I believe in, I did this. We can't sit here and have this conversation and not talk about it. Certain persons, they've actually inflicted suffering and harm on people because of their religion and what they thought about. So if we are saying that religion helps in determining what is moral and immoral, what is good and not good, so what are we talking about? Because yes, certain religion. I'm a Christian, right?
Yeah.
And I was told you don't do certain things because it's wrong.
Yeah.
But I've also seen certain people as Christians inflict pain on people, and on Sunday they go to church. And I've seen Muslims, you're told not to do that. On Friday, you go for your Juma, but you actually do harm to someone, right? So if you're actually a religious person, why are you inflicting harm on people then? Why are you doing harm?
Because that it's not that black and white that you're a religious person, so you don't live. So yes, we pick and choose our religion as well, right? We will say, "Oh, this is okay. This is not such a big sin. This is a big sin. You can't do this." So we are picking and choosing, and that's why we make it right what we really want to do. But coming to religion, that I think a lot of things we human beings have distorted it. Oh, Islam is saying this. I can talk about Islam. I'm really interested in religion, so in Torah and Bible and Quran. So we say these things. So we are the ones who's like 10 Commandments, very clear, like
Yeah.
what you can't do, what you can do. So we go and put our interpretation. No, it's actually means this. So we are doing
Yeah.
something naughty.
Okay.
A very candid choice of word, actually.
Clearly. I didn't expect that finishing.
Because
We are the
you have
evil,
something
not
to
the
say.
divine.
Do.
Okay,
I
go
really
ahead.
do. And it's quite coincident because last Saturday I was having this conversation with my friends, and she happens to be Muslim and I happen to be Christian. And we were debunking on the collectiveness of religion to even understand where the breakup happened and all these things, and in terms of our beliefs and so on. But one of the things that we discovered is how much religion is also full of culture and cultural interpretations based on the context during the time that even the Bible was written and so on. So if we're using that, each like religion is also very culturally, in fact, for me, heavily cultural influenced and interpreted as well. So it
From the
still
time.
comes back to,
Just a follow-up question to that,
Yeah.
about religion, because let's take that for some time. And it's also a very open, question for everyone here. When we look at religion, I'm actually bothered to ask, okay, that as humans, should we be more logical in reasoning than not just looking at what our religious beliefs are? Because I've seen that most persons, when they're very religious, it clouds their sense of judgment. They forget or relegate every logical sense. So if your religion is telling you to do this, but logically it doesn't really make sense.
And this is where our gift of intuition comes in. I feel if we actually created space, I know intuition even sounds, especially for me who works in a business context, very woo-woo, but I find it's more of an internal guide that actually gets to help you to navigate certain contexts. But we don't believe in intuition, or we don't even have context to actually prove intuition is there or even is something we use. But I feel intuition will be a very good element to actually help us in context that might be, as you said, if I'm seeing this, your intuition will always tell you.
What about logic?
Logic can actually be, it's okay, there's logic, but for me, I find logic and intuition can actually be very different, because also
They are different,
logic,
because somebody's saying you can't do this.
and it's a
Because Quran says it, but your
Logic-
Are you questioning that? Are you truly questioning that?
but logic takes away, it's taught, it's not an individual assessment. Like logic is taught. You make a logical decision based on certain models, principles, whatever, and so on. But intuition, you can't even explain why you feel this thing is bad, but there's something that is off, even if everything looks good on paper.
Dr. Azi.
So religion's obviously like complex thing, and two of its constituents in general is referred to, especially in Christianity, as logos and mythos. So logos is the word of God. It's associated with rationality and logic and the law and so on, whereas mythos is more the experiential, subjective aspects of religion, and they both go hand in hand. Like if you were to do one without the other, you really lose a significant part of the religious experience. So I think it's way more complex than saying it's either this or that. It has to encompass both reason and intuition, or both the heart and the head. And of course the heart and the head only go so far without the actions of the hands, right? So it has to be implemented, and actually, like, I think most religions emphasize in the end action.
Amazing. Away from religion, actually, and back to the subject matter deeply, let's look at some supporting data and research statistics which I actually gathered. In 7 studies involving 2,068 participants, research found that people's first impulses are often selfless. I remember when we spoke about it initially. Some person said that human beings are actually selfish. But from this research, it's saying that some persons are actually selfless. And also we saw another study, a major 2024 international study, tested over 1,000 infants aged 5 months to 10 months and found no evidence that morality is innate. Infants showed no consistent preference for morally good as pre-social characters over bad ones, challenging previous assumptions of inborn moral sense.
Correct. Yeah. So the study I quoted earlier that said by the age of 7, as early as 7, children seem to have some preference for moral action, in this case altruism or helping somebody in need. You could argue that doesn't necessarily mean that morality is innate, because what it could show is as young as the age of 7, children already start to learn, what is good and what is bad. Through modeling and through socializing and parenting. Through watching TV and through watching the characters and, how they're represented. And children now, they pick up things very quickly. One of the most important philosophers is obviously Aristotle, and I think he said that people are born amoral, and that morality is something you learn. And he was, I think, a pretty smart guy, so I would
Rely on him.
Okay, but
go with him,
if I want to cue into what you said, even what Aristotle said, so because I can't help but question or think about the fact that our brain, how is it wired? Are we actually wired to be good people? Are we actually wired to do good, or are we wired to some extent to do harm? What exactly happens to the brain psychologically, please? Because that's like a very big question when we talk about good and evil. What does the brain say?
So there we have a left side and the right side. So the left side is our logical side, that you put the socks on, then you put the shoes on, and identity, who am I, what do I look like, and where is my place. The right side is your growth side. It's your playful side. It's a side that wants to grow, evolve, and learn. So I feel there is both.
How do you mean?
I mean, how does the brain does? That brain looks after you as well, and has this thing that you exist. So that's why therefore you have to do certain things. And then there's other side, which is I would say it's more male side and the female side. And so how does the brain react to all this? I just think it is about us, and it's about others as well. It's both.
My take would be, you asked how we are wired, right?
Yeah.
And if I look at the wiring, it doesn't happen at a very cautious level. And it doesn't happen through one element as well. And I'll refer back to what we were saying earlier. We don't operate in separates. So even the wiring is not happening in separation. So if we look even at so-called wiring, we'll be following a thought pattern or behavioral pattern or something of the sort that actually gets to explain a certain wiring, or maybe we'll call it we follow personalities, things like that. So it doesn't happen in isolation enough for us to actually say that we are wired in X or X, because it's multiple factors that affect each individual wiring and so on.
Right to do both, right?
Dr. Azi, what do you think? What do you think? The human's brain.
I think it's really malleable, and it stays malleable throughout the human's life, more or less. But at the beginning, it's, we often say the child is like a sponge. They pick up things very quickly, including language and that kind of stuff very quickly. So I think it comes wired to make connections.
Is it wired to actually do good, or wired to do both good and evil?
I think it's just wired to learn what works in terms of surviving and meeting its needs, and meeting its needs for connection, for coherence, for that's why like play is so important in the development phase of the child. Actually, through play, kids learn to notice and learn and interact and negotiate and all of those things. So I don't think it comes wired for good or evil, to be honest. I just think it comes, with a fairly malleable brain that responds to the environment in ways that increases, hopefully, its chances to survive in order to meet.
Yeah, and when it's triggered, so as you're saying, but when it's triggered, it realizes who I am, and I need to survive, and I need to look after myself, and I need to defend myself. It doesn't when it's triggered. So I don't feel at that moment it feels I need to look after everybody. It's just that what are this person thinking who is trying to hurt me? You're thinking of yourself.
Okay.
And then, you said, because I think the survival instinct kicks in, and your left brain gives you identity, that this is who you are, this is where you start, this is where you end, this is your ego. So I think when we're triggered, it's about me. So
I have a very, would I call it, very specific question. Why do people sometimes, derive pleasure from witnessing the pain and suffering of others?
psychopaths, aren't they?
But it's evil, right? And some people do that. Why do they do that?
I'm trying to understand the question.
You're trying to process it, right?
I'm trying to understand.
Because we've seen people witness when they enjoy and inflict pain or evil on other people. Why do they do that?
Maybe it's happened to them.
They derive pleasure in inflicting pain on other people.
Some people do.
It happens, right? And why do they do that? From the psychological point of view, why do you think humans do that?
Again, I feel it's trauma, it's upbringing. What you've learned in your early years as well. What your household was.
But I'm trying to really, but if I can't assess the behavior, I can't even understand the why enough to see what will make that, or rather what will ignite that pleasure when another person is actually experiencing X, Y, Z. Because it seems to me, if the story that is sold that this person is a bad person, and we see this bad person go down or is experiencing pain, and we're able to, of course we'll feel like we won. And so this means the good and bad evil comes back.
Yeah, they deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. It comes back to play. So very contextual.
I think sometimes it's the language or the story we tell as we inflict harm on other people. And you can see crowds cheering, for example, at the murder of some people.
Yeah.
And that's because we have laid a story that says these are evil and we are good.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why it's so dangerous to use these terms, by the way.
Yeah.
Because it really dehumanizes the other person. And it shuts down our curiosity to understand when we label something as evil.
Absolutely.
Correct.
But we can actually not live without that label, can we?
Why not? Why not?
The world doesn't work that way, does it?
Who said it? Maybe we're the ones who meant to change it, because
the world will always say there's always a narrative. You're either doing something good or doing something evil, right?
Yeah,
there's no in between.
How can we not label it, because then everything is okay.
Yeah. So I'm asking if we cannot, if that judgment, like Dr. Azi is saying, it's it's not appropriate, then are we going to sit on the fence?
I feel like I'd like to say what Dr. Az is saying is about dehumanization of the people. Or I feel that is where we miss the point.
But if you
What
do
the-
something
the
evil,
im-
what does that make you?
But the impact of the label that we put based on whatever we call good or evil determines the rest of the actions around it.
I mean, if rain falls on you, you don't become rain. It fell on you. So if you've done something bad, you don't become bad.
Exactly. And it's quite also interesting because even things that will say personality, which ends up influencing behaviors, are also very learned environmentally. We learn how to behave in a certain way in order to get what and all these things. So, and these are the things that we're calling good or evil, but maybe I learned the way to do good was to actually have XYZ in order to do, which might be evil.
Amazing. Dr. Azi, can you recall a moment in your life or history that challenged your belief in human goodness or human evil?
I think every time you turn on the news,
Yeah.
to be honest.
That's ridiculous, Dr. Azi.
Honestly, it really, like, every time you see what's going on in the world, you start to question. I think not even whether this is good or evil. You just question the sanity of the world. I think it's So I think on a daily basis, really. Although I've kind of become fairly numb to it, so I no longer I get surprised.
Do we live in a good or evil world?
I think we just live in a world full of human beings who, are imperfect. There's lots of things that are helpful, lots of things that are terribly unhelpful. And I refuse to use those terms. Sorry.
Okay.
The terms like greed.
Because someone can actually be very, very greedy.
There is greed, but I don't call it evil.
How? If you're greedy,
You're not evil. No, why are you evil?
Really?
You're greedy. Why do we
but
need evil?
greed can actually make you
How is that?
greed can actually make you inflict harm on someone if you're very greedy and very envious of someone.
So
Actually,
then you're greedy and harmful.
okay. Yeah. But if you're greedy, it's not a bad thing.
It is a thing. I mean,
Exactly.
It's a thing, but you don't know if you don't agree if it's a bad or a good thing.
It's just a
No,
thing.
It's just a thing.
I think it's a thing. Yeah.
If you're greedy for resources that other countries have maybe, and you want them, and you don't care who dies, who lives, that's not evil.
You're greedy.
Well, the thing is, if you think about it, the country that is being exploited, because that's what you're talking about here, I think, right? Chances are, if it was the other way around, they would do the same.
No, that's philosophy that they might do the same, but maybe they would not do the same because they did had that chance and they didn't do it because they did thought maybe everybody can live together.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like if you look at the internal politics of exploited countries, you will see that actually there's plenty of quote unquote evil acts also committed within that country. Even at the family level.
Absolutely.
So I suppose that's what I'm trying to say. No, it's human being. It's human nature.
So that's our nature then, to be evil.
No,
I asked the same question.
No. I just want to
But I'm
clarify.
going to add even in terms of
I just don't like the word.
No, it's our nature to be human. We're capable of doing good and
That's why I said greed, jealousy, competitiveness. That's
love,
our
joy,
nature.
all of that. Yeah.
there's also exactly.
Being kind,
Yeah.
being loving, connection.
Yeah.
These are all part of the.
But to use these terms, good and evil,
Yeah.
it just is dangerous because it has the capacity to shut our curiosity to understand and to dehumanize the other and therefore justify really what would be termed evil, retaliation.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm trying to be so cautious.
And even as psychologists, if we use the term good and evil, we will never help half of the people who come to us. Never. Never.
So
we will never help anyone.
someone comes to you,
What happens?
Bushra, a client comes to you, okay, and talks to you about what they've done. Professionally, you can tell them. Can you actually tell them what you did was very wrong, was evil, or how does it work?
Always fine. So you haven't had a realization. You didn't have the awareness. If you didn't have the awareness, how could you have done something else?
But I came to you, I hurt someone so bad.
Yeah.
And I came to you because I feel bad about it, and I came to talk to you about it. What will you tell me?
I will say, I'm so sorry that you went through, but
But I hurt someone.
but you didn't have the awareness. You didn't know you were doing bad.
So I did. I
Now you
didn't.
know you did bad.
Bushra. So I need. If I'm ignorant about inflicting pain on someone,
Yeah.
what does that make me?
But
That
can
you
the-
didn't know.
I didn't know. So if I don't know, but if I
Thought
don't
you
know,
were doing the right thing because, or you thought it was normal to do that, behave that way. You thought, like somebody ghosted somebody, they thought that was a normal thing to do because they don't have answers for them, so might as well run away from it. And the person comes, you know what? Now I'm getting married, and I'm thinking of that woman who I ghosted. And I feel guilty. I feel shame. So we said, okay, fine, let's sit with it.
so ignorance is a justification for harm. Is that what you're saying?
Awareness could be.
Could be, or is it?
Because it's, as he said, it's intention. The intention was not to, but bad happened, and now you realize. So now you realize you're sitting with a lot of guilt and shame now. So let's forgive you, and maybe ask for forgiveness from that person and clean that. And now let's start.
When someone hurts you,
Yeah.
Meg.
yeah, hurts me, man.
Yeah. If someone hurts you, and this is a bit of a personal, emotional
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? What do you think when someone hurts you?
It's quite interesting because I get hurt a lot, but what I always know is I'm the one experiencing that, and it's my interpretation of their actions that I'm actually experiencing. It's my own insecurity maybe showing up. I'm the one experiencing it. They could have done something to a group of us or even to me directly.
You would have
But
chosen to do
my-
something good, right?
But no, the thing is, I take a lot of responsibility for my own experiences in a situation.
If someone hurts you, you think,
Yeah, but I had a relationship with that person to be close enough to even hurt me. I put myself in a situation maybe that I was hurt, but that's the reality.
Allowed it, right?
Yeah, I played a big part.
Dr. Azi, I need to come to you right now. Someone hurts me, or let's say someone hurts you. Is that a reflection of that person, who that person is? Or was it a choice?
I think it could be a reflection of my actions as well. I could have done something that, like if I go out and do certain things, I increase the risk of getting hurt substantially. We all know that. And it says something about the people who hurt me, of course, because not everybody will attack me if I said or did certain things that typically provokes an assault. In a group, not everybody's going to assault me. So it says something about both the victim and, I think, the abuser, But again, saying that, I'm not trying to justify, abuse or anything like that. I'm just trying to point to the complexity of human interactions and hurt.
Our time is almost done. So, but I would like to take our final arguments.
Yeah.
And I'll start with Bushra. What are your, conclusive thoughts, please?
On the subject.
Yeah. Closing arguments, please.
I think we have both in us. It's how we are brought up, our situation, our everything that makes it who we are. It's
Okay.
our experiences, our upbringing. So I think I'm trying to agree with him. There is no evil.
Trying to is a good place to be.
Your closing arguments, please.
It will be in terms of understanding our own individuality and taking a lot of responsibility towards that, and also knowing we're interacting with the world as it is and the experiences as it is. But we also do have a bit of individual aspect that contributes to the experiences of others around us.
Dr. Azi?
Yeah, I think the terms are dangerous, good and evil. I think they're best to be avoided, and instead think more about just people's actions and be curious about theirs and your own, and also try and think about or be curious about people's emotions. and also the things that move you, your own motives when trying to explain your relationships.
Thank you all so much for coming to the show. Dr. Azi, it was a very amazing conversation with you, Meg. Thank you for your thoughts. And Bushra, thank you so much. It's been an amazing time. And for you watching, maybe the answer isn't as simple as good or evil. Maybe we are all a mix of both, capable of kindness and cruelty, compassion and chaos, depending on the choices we make. What truly defines us might not be what we are born with, but what we choose to become. So if you actually like this conversation and what we do here, kindly subscribe and leave a comment, as your support is really appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.